afraid of Paul Warren. Welcome to the Blue Monday podcast. Seb, we were just chatting off air. I don't like going against Paul Warren. Hello in the chat, everybody. Are you actually go straight to the chat? Are you afraid of Paul Warren? We'll do Cambridge, but this guy always does a number on us, doesn't he?
And it makes it worse that he's a Norwich fan, doesn't it? That really kind of sticks the dagger in. You know, he always just beats us effortlessly with his Rotherham sides. And then
you know what makes it even worse, Seb? Is he's a really nice bloke who's a Norwich fan who always beats us.
He comes across really nicely. I was watching the pre-match press conference today that he did, and he comes across as a really likeable guy. He's got a bit of a personality about him, and yeah, every time I just see him walking down the touchline after they've dominated and beat us 2-0 with a wry smile on his face, it always makes me think, it's so annoying. He's a Norwich fan as well, but hopefully things will be different.
Says Charlie in the chat. Good evening to Jim, FPL Tractor. Do say hello in the chat. We're going to be here for the next hour. So, Seb, this is a hybrid. It's not a flagship. I'm going to come up with some stupid name now. It's not a flagship, but it's not a pre-match. So it's
the pre-flag.
Flagship. If anyone was at the Cambridge game, by the way, because we were due to have the illustrious Joe Fairs on, but he's got family business. Give us your thoughts if you're at the Cambridge game or you watched on iFollow. Evening, another Seb there. Jules, evening. EJ Norris. Good evening, you lovely people. Seb, sorry, how are you?
Yeah, very well, thank you, mate. I'm good. Looking forward to watching us tomorrow night. I can't go to the game, but looking forward to watching us under the lights on Sky, hopefully to see us break the Sky curse.
I am endeavouring to be there. It's one of those where I'm probably going to know about 3 p.m. tomorrow as to whether I can make my way down to Portman Road. I do particularly want to. Michael, welcome as ever in Brisbane. Get your comments on Cambridge, and then in particular, a pretty fearsome opponent in terms of club size in Derby coming up at the weekend. Do you want to do a little bit on Cambridge, Seb? And then we'll crack on. We've got a bit of Bracknell, Winnersh, Didcot, Bracknell to talk about. But it's that difficult question of what did we learn, if we learned anything about the EFL Cup tie against Cambridge?
Yeah, I mean, obviously it was a dead rubber before the game, wasn't it? It had to be a ridiculous swing of scores for us not to qualify. So it was a bit of a dead rubber anyway. And I guess, you know, the thing that's come away from it is the ridiculous decision to send Edwards off. You know, we've all probably seen it back, and it's an absolute joke decision in reality. And I felt sorry for the youngsters that obviously, you know, played, because they had 17 minutes playing in a, you know, their kind of natural game, and after that sending off, they have to adjust their own games, and they're the kind of the ones that lose out from that. You know, you had Edwin, Adbajay right back, and you had Chawera in the number 10, and as soon as Edwards goes off, there's a reshuffle, and we have to be more conservative, I guess. So that's the really disappointing thing from it. You know, the game itself doesn't really matter. I guess you could argue, potentially, is it good that we had kind of, you know, 70 minutes or so playing with 10 men as a bit of experience for players? We got some more minutes into the likes of Keogh, Kamara made an appearance and got some more minutes, or some of his first minutes for the club, which is a good thing. But, you know, the disappointing thing is that joke decision. You know, I mean, some of the referees we've had this year have been woeful, and just seem to be a new low on Tuesday night. You know, the first one, no problem. The high boot, definite yellow card, no issue. The replay of the dive, the simulation is ridiculous, and Bonner comes out afterwards and says it's a joke decision. I'd be fuming if it went against me. Just shows.
I like Bonner.
He speaks really well.
I hear him interviewed, I really like him. Yeah.
He was really good, wasn't he? After the home defeat, you know, he was really sort of waxed lyrical about us. He's a really great up and coming manager. Obviously, turned down the Rotherham job to replace Paul Warren, didn't he, a few weeks ago? And again, he's spoken in our favour as a nice guy. So a disappointing night. We're at home in the next round. I don't know when the draw is. I guess the game will be at some point during the World Cup, maybe. But we'll be at home for that, and it's still regionalised. So we'll see who we get. And I guess it's another chance to get more minutes into the likes of Keogh, Kamara, Humphreys, etc. And that's what we have to use it for until we get to the latter stages, where you might see a few first teamers come in if we can stay in.
Right, I'm going to the chat, Seb. Stephen went to school with Paul Warren. Have I told my Paul Warren story on here before? When I'll tell it in a minute. Charlie, Cambridge was strange. Sending off ruined it. After that, it felt like a training game. Yeah, fair comment. Up until the diabolical simulation. I think Jules is hopefully saying it's a diabolical decision rather than a diabolical simulation. I think I know what he means. Watch Mullet. What we learned was refs are getting worse. Bless them. I always try and stand up for them. I struggle sometimes, I have to say. Dan, interesting to hear the reasoning behind mixing youth with experience for the tie rather than chucking in lots of youngsters. In Jim, enjoyed the game despite the result. Good crowd, but weird fascination with a rotund gentleman. Let's not go there. Wolfie's book at the end. Baffling. I think Bonner's got his eye. Okay, yeah, fair enough. Some flirting going on. I've been listening to a few managers talk about these EFL Cup games, Seb, and it strikes me the ones that are most positive are managers that are on a bad run that play most of their first team. They seem to get the most use out of these games.
Yeah, it's a chance, isn't it, to break a bad run, and you can. But equally, if you're on a really bad run and you're losing it, it doesn't matter because it's not the league, so it's almost like a free hit from both kind of points of view. And I like the way McKenna's used it this season. I thought he was going to go really young on Tuesday night, given the fact also we played on the Saturday to Lincoln, and we've got Friday on the Derby night. So in reality, you're losing kind of almost 2 or 3 days of training and shape and preparation. So I thought he'd go a lot younger than he did. I quite like the way he it's almost a hybrid, isn't it, of first teamers and getting a couple of kids involved and getting some minutes into the players that need it. So I like the way he's doing it. And if we get a decent draw in the next round, hopefully, obviously poor Carl Edwards won't play. Thankfully, the red card is only specific for the Pizza Cup, so he can play against Derby if need be. But hopefully, if we get a decent draw in the next round, we can progress a little bit further and hopefully maybe make that elusive trip to Wembley and get ourselves off that list of whatever it is, 5 or 6 clubs that have never played at the new one.
Stop it. Lewis, I love Camera as a signing, but my God, you could tell he hasn't played in fact. Yeah, he's got to start. It's a fair point. We've got to start somewhere, haven't you? And I suppose no better place. But from what Lewis is saying, it might be several drips in of 5 minutes.
It might take a while, yeah. And also, don't forget Aluko as well. Last year was awful in his debut. Do you remember against whoever it was in the Carling Cup? Yeah. He was the League Cup. He was absolutely awful. Everyone's saying, why have we signed him? And a few months down the line, he's a key player. So yeah, good that he got some minutes under the belt. And I guess hopefully we might see him make an appearance off the bench at some point in the league shortly.
Yeah, I thought Humphreys had a good game, says Michael. I wonder whether ref abuse is reducing the pool of refs. So I suspect it is. They need to do something in that regard. But that's a very long debate, Seb, about putting the money up and completely restructuring the culture of how. And we always make the comparison to the rugby players calling them sir, don't we? But I don't know whether you can get anywhere near that. And then getting the fans to buy into that culture as well feels a long, long way off. Jules, nice to see Keogh putting his body on the line for a pizza. So you just end the sentence there for a pizza. Keogh putting his body on the line for a pizza. He wanted that pepperoni pizza bad. Let me know in the chat if you think you're going to be able to get a ticket to Bracknell, Seb. What a draw. And on ITV4 as well. Your thoughts?
It's great, isn't it? I mean, God, we've said it so many times. We've been drawn against what we've had since we've been down: Coventry,
Barrow.
Lincoln, Barrow, Oldham, Portsmouth. Yeah, we normally get a rubbish draw. I was convinced it was going to be somebody like Gillingham at home or something totally pointless. I wanted a Northern side, Wrexham or Chester was still in that. That'd have been nice for me. But I think it's a brilliant, brilliant tie. I've listened to the interview that KOA have done today with the owner, the chairman of Bracknell, and he sounds like he's really looking forward to it. They've announced today it's going to be on telly on the Monday night on ITV4. So although it is a potential banana skin given our history of
absolute no-win situation apart from the glory of playing at Bracknell. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, our record in the FA Cup first round is pretty poor and our record on TV is pretty poor. So you factor those two things in and hopefully, God willing, we just put on a decent performance and get out of there. But, if you can get a ticket, absolutely fair play to you. Mikey's tapped me up today already for my gold card number to try and use that to get one. So
355, that's it, says Nick.
Yeah. Hopefully you can. There's no segregation, apparently. They're going to let people just sit wherever they want. Yeah, like Mullet says there's no segregation. You can turn up to their game at the weekend. I don't know who they've got, but the chairman was saying they'll be selling tickets at the game. Yeah, this weekend. So fancy a trip down to Bracknell on Saturday. I don't know who they're playing. You can get down there and try and get
Where's Bracknell? I assume if it's in the office, it's somewhere near Slough. Is that?
It is, yeah.
Where it is.
That part of the world, isn't it? It's sort of Heathrow, Slough, Reading, that part of the world. Winnersh.
Did tap flow. Superb stuff. Right, guys, get your thoughts in on Derby County then. It's Derby at the weekend. On Friday night in the big Sky game, the controversial third kit at home game, which we dealt with, I think, haven't we? But what are your first thoughts? And then we'll get some we'll get some thoughts from the chat. And obviously, I've covered Derby pretty extensively. Although I think half of it seems to have been reading 170-page reports from the EFL, as opposed to people kicking balls into nets and whatnot. But what's your take, Seb? And we'll get the conversation going.
Well, like you, I am a bit fearful of Warne, given the job he's done on us previously with Rotherham. They've started the season okay. They're currently 9th on 20 points, played 12 games, won 6, drawn 2, lost 4, scored 15 goals and conceded 11. They're pretty solid away from home with their away performance, 8 points from 6 games, which is 11th best in the league. But they are very low scoring. They've only scored 5 goals away from home, and those 5 goals have come in the last 2 away games. They beat Accrington. Yeah, they beat Accrington 3-0 at the weekend, and they beat Cambridge 2-0 in the away game before that. They've also only conceded 3 goals away from home all season, so they didn't score any, I don't think, under Rosenior. They've away from home. They've scored in 2 games under Warne. They're pretty tight away from home, and they've kept 5 clean sheets in the league, and 4 of those have been away from home. So they are a decent side away from Pride Park, and we'll come on in a minute. Some of the names they signed in the summer, a lot of familiar names in there. And I guess from a Derby fan's point of view, you're just grateful at this point. You've got a club, you've attracted a top quality manager for this level from a club higher up in the pecking order. I know Derby's natural ceiling is going to be higher than Rotherham's, hence why he's gone there. But you must just be so grateful. And I guess do they see this year as a promotion year? Do they see this year as a transition and stabilise, or do you think they just want to get straight back up there?
You know what big clubs coming down to League One are like, Seb. They see it as a promotion. But Seb, we're almost normally we look at the data and we're trying to find a nice long-term pattern. We're almost looking for, right, what are the differences now? Because it's very strange you bring up the home away thing, because last year, Rooney and Rosenior, who did sort of the first, someone give me the number in the chat, the first 7, 8 games, 9 games maybe this season, were quite slow, quite methodical, had a good defensive record, had a good points per game at home, far better, because of course they had the points deduction, far better than the team that ends up in the bottom 3. That's distorted by the points deduction. But they were poor away from home, and they had a lot of youngsters playing. That was the theory I sort of heard, and the kind of style didn't necessarily suit itself. And then they got the sort of what's the word? Not gallows humour, but where the crowd was kind of behind a lost cause, so to speak, with the -21. That really got them going at home. So I'm absolutely not surprised to hear you say, oh, they weren't scoring any goals. And all of a sudden, and by the way, I think Paul Warne's a really, really good manager, and I'm not criticising direct football. I think direct football's great. I think Liverpool played direct football. It's awesome. But listen to a Paul Warne interview. It's always about, can you turn the defenders? Can you pass forward? Can you run forward? Can you win the ball back? Can you pass forward? Do you know what I mean? And it's no surprise immediately that, play a couple of away games, and we mentioned James Collins, and this huge Danish guy that's worrying me after the weekend as well, scored a couple of goals at Accrington. But for me, it's almost, what does the data tell us about how much they've changed under Warne from Rosenior, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we'll come on to the formation. There's been a notable formation change. Paul Warne's kind of gone to what he knows. So we'll come on to that kind of shortly. And I guess, when you're saying there about, the club, I guess, has to see this year as a kind of let's look to finish in the playoff. That's why they've clearly gone out and got Paul Warne, isn't it? They've got an experienced manager who they think they could get back up the league. They've kind of gone this strategy in the summer of they've kept a load of young kids from last year with a bit of experience, and they've kind of signed this older guard who should, in theory, some of them should be kind of almost cheat codes at this level. They've had a clear out, haven't they? We know that Tom Lawrence has gone up to Rangers, and is it Billick's gone to Birmingham on loan to clear out some of the, some of the high earners from the wage bill. They've lost quite a few of the young prospects in the summer as well. So we saw that kind of fire sale whilst the club was in administration. They were trying to get a deal done. Rooney obviously, sticks around for a bit and implies that he's going to hang around and see the club move back up the league.
He kind of went when the Kirchner deal fell
through, when it fell through. Yeah, he was clearly hanging on for him, and as soon as that didn't materialise, he's left. And Rosenior gets this interim manager appointment, which wasn't exactly a resounding vote of confidence after Klaus takes over. But the young prospects they lost in the summer, I mean, you might know some of these names. Lee Buchanan went to Werder Bremen. Malcolm Ivosi went to Palace.
Very athletic left wing back. Who was the other one?
Malcolm Iwobi went to Palace.
Yeah, he's another sort of who could play wing back or on the wing. But I'm sure you're about to mention Max Bird, still there. Sibley,
yeah.
still there. Jason Knight's very good as well. He's probably played about 100 games now as well.
Yeah, they've kept that kind of that decent bit of championship experience. Now, hopefully, Jason Knight got subbed against. They played Man City's under 23s in the Pizza Cup on Tuesday night, and he got subbed with an injury, so he is a doubt. So that would be a plus if he can't make it. We mentioned that game last week against Accrington. That was their last away game, last game. They won 3-0, but that's not really. That sounds like a very comfortable kind of away from a performance. That doesn't tell the true story because Accrington miss a sitter by hitting the bar. They then miss 2 penalties. They get 1-0 up. Asula scores. Will Asula, the guy from Sheffield United that we were kind of linked with in the summer here and there, and we kind of went for Ahadme instead. He puts them 1-0 up, and then Accrington conspire to miss 2 penalties in 2 minutes.
Davies should have been red carded as well. That was That was not a deliberate attempt to play the ball, was it?
No, and the same guy takes both penalties. I think it's McConville, the guy that hits the bar as well. So he hits the bar, misses a sitter. He takes both penalties. Keeper saves one he puts wide of the post. Derby then get the second, and they get a third in injury time. So although it looks like a fairly comfortable 3-0 victory, that wasn't really the case when you kind of look at the stats and look at the outcome of the game. They actually finished with 45% possession in that game. So they kind of let Accrington have the ball, and they kind of looked to hit them on the break and kind of capitalised at the end on in I think it's the 98th minute where Barkhausen kind of scores a goal. So that sort of got them up and running away from home. Like I say, they had the 2-0 victory against Cambridge in the away game before that, but up until that point they hadn't scored, and it was a very inconsistent kind of win, draw, lose, win, draw. They couldn't really get any kind of form really going until Warne entered the building.
Yeah, and the general sort of pattern with Warne that we've seen is play fairly. I mean, it's not long ball stuff. It's not.
It's not Wickham, is it?
No,
it's not Ainsworth. It's not Wickham. Yeah.
Yeah, but it's. I always said turn the midfield to dust. It's just stop football happening in that part of the pitch. If the ball bounces, 3 Rotherham players would always be pressing it and charging around everywhere, which I suppose if you're now Derby manager and you've got 5 subs as well, you can probably sustain that sort of level of mad pressing even to a higher standard. And yeah, like you said, I was kind of pleased that I thought we weren't going to be facing Collins, who looks like the perfect Paul Warne player, until we see this blooming Asula banging these couple of goals as well. Get your comments in on this in the chat. Lewis, sounds awful to say. I'm really hoping Hurahan is still out injured. Unbelievable. Yeah, he's in the Bannon Pack Morsey bracket of central midfielders in League One, isn't he?
Yeah, very much so. He only started training apparently yesterday, I think. Paul Warne in the pre-match presser today said he'll train tomorrow and they'll make a decision on him tomorrow kind of afternoon with regards to if he'll play or not. I don't know if that's a smokescreen or whatever, but he is a bit of a cheat code at this level, isn't he? I think we were all surprised that he ended up down here. He was at Sheffield United last year on loan, wasn't he, from Villa? Obviously,
Yeah. So he played in the playoff semi-final second leg.
I think he missed a penalty, didn't he? Did he miss one of the penalties against whoever they played? Yeah, I think he missed one against Forest, if I remember rightly.
Forest, wasn't it?
Yeah. But yeah, he's a bit of a cheat code. He's got 3 goals so far for the season already. He's that kind of driving force from midfield who look like Bannon, look like Moores. He just looks like to be a cut above in a League One game. You can really tell he's just too good for this level. But hopefully the lack of training this week, and I think they said he was back out running yesterday, but hadn't done any kind of training or contact work. He's due to do that tomorrow. Hopefully he might miss out. And if he misses out, and if the other guy Jason Knight misses out, that would be a real big boost for us tomorrow night.
Yeah, lovely sort of shooter from 15, 20 yards range with his left foot. Jason Knight, a completely different player, because he would be a perfect Paul Warne. I think they've been playing him sort of wing back a fair amount, haven't they? But can run for days and days. Charlie, think our defence will have one of their busiest nights. We can cope with that. And I agree with Charlie. And it's not even about being busier. It's about our defenders are going to, especially the wide centre-backs, assuming we play 3, which I'm sure we will, they're going to be forward. And then he always says try and turn the defence. So they've really got to be on guard to, this sort of early ball and those especially if the wing backs are so high. You can imagine if Derby were to score in this game, you can imagine a ball into the channel and something developing from that, can't you?
Yeah, and Asula is so, he's powerful, isn't he? He's powerful and strong and quick. And yeah, they're going to have to really be on their game, because it's interesting you say that we'll probably play a 3. Do you not think it's just more of I think it's more of a 4-2-3-1 these days. I don't kind of see it as a 3 anymore. I think, Danassian is almost an out and out right back now. And I think that, you've got obviously Wolfenden and Emerson in the centre, Davis on the left. I just don't see it as a 3 anymore.
It's a fair comment. It's very fluid, isn't it?
Yeah, I think we've made that transition now to just an out and out kind of 4-2-3-1 with Chaplin or Harness in the number 10 and Burns just constantly so high up the pitch in a 4-2-3-1. I think he's just an out and out almost winger these days. That's how I see it. So yeah, with that extra man not being in the back line, they are going to have to be on their game against the likes of Asula, because he's strong, he'll hold the ball up, he'll look to roll people, he's quick and he's powerful, and he's direct, and he's scoring goals as we saw last week.
It's not big and it's not clever, but you've got to have your thinking cap on. You've got to head that ball, or head it, like Warnock would say, head it, kick it, watch your positioning, be in the right place. You can. I always remember, who's the big Aussie lad? Suter, who was on loan at Fleetwood. Do you remember?
Yeah.
Positioned himself in a game, just headed everything away.
Yeah.
All match. Obviously, I'm sure Derby will be a little more organised than we were perhaps then in the darkest Lambert days. But Michael, will we bring Ball in to play an extra man in the middle of the park? It's not a bad idea, that. I'm not sure it will happen, but there's some sense in that, isn't there?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I didn't know he was suspended on Tuesday night. When I saw he wasn't involved, I thought, oh, that suggests he might be starting against Derby. But apparently, I think he had 2 yellows in the first 2 games, so you then have to miss a game. But at some point, I would like to see that kind of Morsey, Evans, and Ball 3-man central midfield. That would give Morsey license to kind of push forward. But I guess that's more of a 3-3-3 than a 4-3-3 than a 4-2-3-1. But I do think at some point in the season we will be seeing that.
Yeah, it's an interesting one. I wonder if we'll go John Jules and Jackson like we do in the away games. Any problem with this kind of strategy is they can stand off a bit and still play the sort of Paul Warne style if they're screened from in front. But let's talk about us then. How do you see us lining up? There's plenty of suggestions and plenty of options. And you've got to remember we're coming off arguably the worst result of the season. No criticism of the season from me, but it's something that needs to be looked at, having lost to Lincoln last weekend.
Yeah, well, I guess it's up in the air, because I saw the team against Lincoln last week and everyone kind of agreed that's pretty much our strongest side. If you're playing in a playoff semi-final tomorrow at Portman Road, you'd expect that to be the lineup. It's our natural strongest 11, but we just didn't get going at all against Lincoln, did we? So I guess that does leave some places up for grabs. I'd like to see Edwards come in personally. I thought he was, he got the assist against Portsmouth. He was really bright against Cambridge with the 2 goals. He was good away to Morecambe when he started on the left. I just think maybe you need to give Chaplin potential. I know he didn't play on Tuesday night, so he has had a bit of a rest, but maybe he just needs a game on the bench. And could you put Edwards in that kind of wide left position, Harness through the middle behind Ladapo or John Jules, and put Burns out on the right? So I think it'll be interesting. They'll line up with a back 3. They've switched. They used to be a 4-2-3-1 side under Rosenia, and then as soon as Warne's come in, he's gone back to a 3 at the back system. So they kind of play a 3-5-1-1 at the moment. That's how they kind of line up. And they have Mendes Lang on one wing, on the right hand wing, and they have Barkenhausen kind of pushing on the other wing. They like to get nice and forward. And then you've got your insurance policy of Jason Knight and Max Bird sort of sitting in the middle to kind of mop up a little bit. They've got Dobbin on loan from Everton. He's the guy that tends to play in the number 10 role just behind the striker. So normally the striker is James Collins. Tomorrow it will be Asula, and Dobbin will be in that kind of free number 10 role, but he likes to drift out wide at right and link up with Mendes Lang. So there will be a 3. I would play Ladapo personally, just to try and they've got 2 experienced centre backs in Chesters and Davis, and they've got this young kid Aaron Cashin who's an ever present. Yeah, he's never present ever so far this season. He plays on the left of the back 3. So you've got kind of 2 very experienced, very they know what they're doing at this kind of level, kind of defenders. So could you look to maybe pull Ladapo onto Cashin and look to maybe use his physicality against him? But I don't know what McKenna is going to do. We don't tend to see John Jules and Jackson start as much at home. So for me, I think that would mean maybe Ladapo up front, Harness in behind. But I would like to see Edwards get a start because he has looked so bright in the last few games.
Let us know in the chat if you agree with Seb. If you disagree, let us know who you'd have in. What's your take on this Mendez-Lang and maybe Leif Davis? Because obviously Mendez-Lang, had a bit of time out of the game, and we won't go into why that was. But lightning fast, not a defender though. So it's one of those wing-back battles where if you're on the front foot and you're Leif Davis, you think you can get past him. But the further up the pitch you go, you've got this worry that he's so damn quick in getting in behind you.
And that's another reason why I wouldn't mind seeing Edwards start out there. If you can get Edwards isolated running at James Chester's and Curtis Davis, that could be a really good weapon. Leif Davis will get up and down all game. He's got a great engine on him. He's really, really come on since he made that debut against Bolton. He should be one of the first names on the team sheet. I really, really like him. And I think that, he'll play his natural game, and Mendez-Lang hopefully will remain pushed back, having to deal with him. Or, you've got that insurance policy if you play Edwards, that Davis is behind and can cope if Mendez-Lang pushes forward, and then you can look to isolate isolate Edwards one-on-one against one of their older centre halves, because we know that Edwards can effortlessly beat a man, pull out a trick, knock it past him, cut inside on his right foot. The options we've got when Edwards plays running a centre back is absolutely superb.
Yeah. How do you see it playing out then, Seb? Let us know in the chat as well.
Yeah, I mean, I think it will be a draw. I'm hoping Derby will come to play against us. We don't want to see another case of Lincoln and stuff where sides turn up and are organised and well developed and well drilled and are celebrating clearances for corners like they've just won the World Cup. We don't want to see that again. Derby, in theory, should come to play. The pre-match presser from Paul Warne says we go to play the game. We take the game to them, and it's a great test for us to see how we can compare ourselves to one of the best sides in the division. So hopefully they will come out and play. Interestingly, they are top of the league for possession away from home with 61.4%.
That'll drop, Seb. Surely that'll drop. Now
you would think, you would think so, wouldn't you? But at the moment, they are the best. They don't have many shots away from home. That's an interesting one. They only have 4.9 shots on target per game, which is nowhere near kind of the upper levels of the league. So they've got a 78% passing accuracy, so they are the most accurate with the ball as well. But like you say, as Paul Warne, he's only been in charge for, I think it's 3 or 4 league games. He's had a couple of cup games as well. But as the season goes on, you would expect those kind of natural statistics to drop down. I think it will be a draw. I think it should be a good game. Obviously, we've got the bumper crowd. It looks like it's a complete sellout, but I think it will be a 1-1 draw.
Interesting. Very, very interesting. 1-1 brain, 2-1 heart. Always go with the heart, Jules? Charlie, we'll start frantically. And, well, we kind of don't want it to, do we? We want to be calm, and Kieran McKenna always uses the word control. Paul Warne will want it frantic, won't he, Seb?
Yeah, he will. We want to play our natural game. We want to start quickly, because in the last few games we've kind of started a bit sloppily, especially away at Morecambe that first half. We never got going last week against Lincoln. So if we can start our natural game, get possession, get Evans on the ball, do the things we were doing so well, move the ball quite quickly, like we've been doing brilliantly for the first 13, 14 games of the season. And that's what we want. We want to control this game from the off, because the longer it goes on, if they start going more direct to Osula with his strength and his pace and his power, they would start to cause us problems. So it's up to us to kind of take the game to them. We're the ones at home. It sounds like there's going to be a light show and a sellout crowd and all that kind of stuff going on before the game. So hopefully we can rise to the occasion, put the Sky curse to bed and turn up and put in a really good performance to get ourselves back on track. But I think it will be a 1-1 draw, personally.
Is there any competition on TV? Is it the only game on?
Yeah, I think so. I don't think there's any.
I reckon a lot of people will watch that, don't you?
Well, that's probably why we've gone for the black shirts, isn't it? Because of the commercial opportunity available to us. Yeah, I mean, you think of the two, us two and Wednesday are the biggest followed clubs in this league, presumably. Pride Park is 35,000 people, so they'll have a hell of a following. They'll probably sell out their allocation. They'll have a great following on Sky, obviously, and yeah, the audience for it should be pretty good. I don't think there's a Premier League game, because they're playing in midweek, aren't they? There's some games going on.
Oh, it's Amazon. Yeah, I think they're playing right now, aren't they?
Yeah, there's games going on tonight, so there's not a Premier League game. I doubt there's a championship game, which is why we've been selected. And hopefully, given that the large audience and the the black shirts being out on display, and maybe a cameo from Mr. Sheeran on the big screen, we might be able to put in a decent display.
No Premier League or Championship games. Get your questions in. We'll do a bit of pluggery and then we'll do some questions to finish. Apart from Edwards, none of our front players have been on song in recent games. That's probably fair, isn't it?
Yeah,
it
definitely.
Needs to change on Friday I think I agree with that.
Yeah, he's been the bright spark, hasn't he, Edwards? Chaplin's looking a little bit off it since the Portsmouth game. I know Chaplin got the assist and Harness scored, but away to Morecambe, neither of them were brilliant, and they never got going at all against Lincoln. So I just think maybe freshen it up a little bit in there. I wouldn't be surprised if we had Ladapo at the top, and then Edwards and John Jules in the kind of number 10 role. It wouldn't surprise me if they were both kind of rested on the bench. And it's great that we've got obviously this squad that can now come in. We don't see a drop off anymore, do we? When we bring the likes of John Jules or Edwards in, as opposed to a couple of years ago when we're subbing off James Norwood, bring in Ollie Hawkins and see a massive drop off in quality. We just don't see that anymore. But I wouldn't be surprised if things are freshened up a little bit in those attacking areas.
Do you realise Ollie Hawkins is like John Charles for Mansfield? He plays centre half and centre forward in the same game. It's tremendous. Michael, start Edwards, overload with Davis, and look for the crossfield ball from Evans and Wolfie. Jules, Derby only restricted view seats left. Going to be. I really do want to get down there tomorrow. We'll see. We'll see what the family situation is at 3 p.m. Seb, let's do a bit of pluggery. Where's the best place to head before the game tomorrow, Seb?
Get yourself down to the Greyhound. I went there on Saturday for my first time this season. Obviously, the pre-match show is normally in partnership with the Greyhound, and it was great. The menu's superb. The outside bar is absolutely brilliant. They had Adnams on tap at the outside bar, and phenomenal. Get yourselves down there. I'm sure you'll see at least probably 40% of the Blue Monday group will be there at some point. Get yourself there. Nice study for the booths with the heaters. Order some food. It's the best beer and the best company in town before a match.
Unbelievable scenes. You can check out our, by the way, while we're doing pluggery, get questions in, although I'll stop right there and say thanks to good old David.
Thank you.
Now donated us €20,000 in the last 5 shows. That's so kind, David, as ever. A bit of a live stream legend. Very, very kind, David. Thank you so much in the super chat there. I'll give you a lift. It's very kind, Jim, but you don't want to ride with me. I have to do about 30 minutes of editing after the game finishes. But thank you for the offer. All round Mikeys. Is this for the Bracknell game? Questions, comments in. Well, we do just a little bit more pluggery because it is, after the Bracknell game. In fact, the following week, Ipswich Town played Cheltenham, and straight after the game, Seb, is Blue Monday live at Portman Road. We had a good the normal thing with tickets. We had a nice little spike, and Seb, last time we did this, we could have sold double the allocation on the last day. Our phone didn't stop ringing all day. So the message is, get your tickets now because everyone will leave it to the last minute and there won't be any seats left.
Absolutely, yeah. After the Cheltenham game in the Sir Bobby Robson Suite at Portman Road, 7:30 for an 8 o'clock start. Go to ITFC.co.uk for details, and get your tickets in nice and early to ensure you're not disappointed. I've had a sneak peek of the running order, and it's going to be a really, really great night. So don't be disappointed. Get your tickets, and hopefully we'll see as many down there as we can.
Who will be the first Ipswich player suspended in the league? Do I need to whistle the Bangles here?
Morsey's on 4, isn't he? He's on 4 yellows. So logically, I mean, if we were to be pretty comfortable tomorrow night, I wouldn't be too adverse if he would have kicked somebody with 10 minutes to go and missed the Port Vale game and get it out of the way before Charlton away. But Morsey, I think, is on 4. Davis, I think, is on 3. So most likely one of those two, but I'm assuming it'll be Morsey.
You see how well, I'm sure this will come up. You see how well Ellis Harrison's playing for Port Vale?
Yeah, he is, isn't he? He's on absolute fire. I think he scored again at the weekend. I think he's got seven goals. I think they've scored something like 14 all season. He's got half of them.
They've got that Wilson back now playing up front with him as well.
The ex-Man United guy.
Yeah,
he's there as well. So that's going to be a tough night. I'm going to Port Vale on Tuesday night. So that's going to be a tough one. He's on a rich vein of form, and he's probably got a bit of a point to prove, hasn't he? Because he never really got a chance here after his injury, did he? He got injured. Obviously, he gets signed by Hurst, and he's the the leading man as a pressing forward in a Paul Hurst 4-1-4-1. Then he gets injured, and Lambert just never played him, did he?
I don't think Paul Lambert liked Ellis Harris, and I don't
Do you
think
not
that's
think
the
he
biggest secret in world football, is
he
it?
disguised it so well. I remember one of the press conferences. I think one of the guys asked me and said, "Oh, what do you think of Ellis Harrison? He's closing in on a return." And I remember Lambert just would always say, "Oh, he's very bubbly, or he's very loud,
overconfident." Yeah, right.
yeah. So yeah, I think you might be right there.
Keep your questions coming in. Super chat legend. David, we'd like you if you didn't super chat, but you are a super chat legend. Just put that out there. If we go up this season, how do you think we do in the Championship next season, Seb?
Well, I guess you're better qualified to answer this. If you look at the kind of players we've bought in, they're either a mixture of, having played a decent number in the Championship, the likes of Evans and Ball and Morsey and I guess Keogh if he's still around. And then you've got kind of the ones who you hope will make that natural step up in the likes of, Wolfenden and Burns and stuff. So, I mean, you watch an awful lot more Championship football than I do. I'd like to think that we'd be, not maybe that comfortable, but I think we'd have enough about us, hopefully, to kind of finish in lower kind of mid-table and then look to really push on from there. Obviously, the recruitment they would do in the summer would be absolutely critical, but I'd like to think, a spine of Walton, Edmondson, and Wolfenden, Morsey and Evans, and you need something at the top of the pitch should be enough, hopefully, to see us pretty comfortably safe. Would you agree with that, or?
I would, and the thing I'd add, Seb, is in the Championship, pretty much year on year, you get 4 to 6 teams that are basket cases. That some of them will sack 2 managers. One will get a points deduction. They'll do silly things, and there's that competence level that will put you in the third quartile that you mentioned, and then you never know whether. A lot of it depends how you get promoted, doesn't it? Because we're not suggesting for 1 minute that that's a foregone conclusion here. We understand Plymouth are currently the best team in the division. But often, I'd be interested in what the chat saw, often the playoff winner, for some reason, I don't know if it's like late momentum or they don't get their players signed, maybe pilfered by bigger teams. So it depends how you get promoted as well in terms of if you want that freewheeling downhill momentum. Do you know what I mean?
Well, you kind of lose 3 weeks, don't you? If you win the playoffs, you've effectively lost probably 3 weeks from the end of the season. So that's 3 weeks where you can't properly plan for things. I guess you have 2 lists going into the playoff final of a promoted target list and a we stay down target list. But I always think losing that 3 weeks is absolutely critical for the manager to decide on, preseason plans, transfer targets, and it always seems to kind of catch up with them. You want to just win the league, be up by the first weekend in May, and then you've got a really solid kind of 2.5 months to put your plans in place for a decent assault at the league next year.
100%. Sorry, let me just get the Derby bench up in readiness for the next question, which I think is a pertinent one. Michael, do you think it'll be a tight game until the 60th minute? Then we bring the subs on to win the game. I actually think that would favour us if it was 0-0 at 60. If you look at, let's bring that Derby bench up, and the way Derby would win the game would be frantic, get in front, pull us out, score a second. We've seen Rotherham do that within the first half of a game at Portman Road before. But look at that bench. Okay, Smith, McGoldrick, Stearman. You're talking about the the old guard. McGoldrick, obviously, we know what he can do, don't we? But I would always back us, apart from maybe against Sheffield Wednesday or Plymouth or something, if it comes down to a sub battle. Am I over-egging that?
No, I think I agree with you because, at the 60-minute mark, you're looking to bring on exciting, direct, powerful, pacey kind of players, aren't you, against tiring fullbacks, tiring centre-backs and tiring midfielders. And that's exactly what we can do with the likes of Jackson and Edwards if he's on the bench. We can bring that kind of, it must be soul-destroying. If you're a fullback and you spent 60 minutes against Wes Burns up and down, and suddenly you're seeing Carl Edwards about to come on, or Caden Jackson with his pace about to come on in that position. It must be soul destroying. So I would back us, given the the kind of player that we are able to bring off the bench, ahead of most in the league. You know, you just mentioned there some of Derby's players on the bench, the likes of Stearman's quite old, obviously McGoldrick we know all about, but he is now 35. He's just come back from a month out injured. He played 20 minutes, I think, against Accrington off the bench, and he started and got 65 odd minutes against Man City in the Pizza Cup in midweek. So
still in there though, isn't it?
It is, but he's just come back from a month out, so you know I don't expect him to start. He'll be a bench option, but at the 60-minute mark, I'd rather be bringing on the likes of Jackson's pace, John Jules' trickery, John Jules' cleverness, and than a 36-year-old. I have to say.
Not interested in how many passes Evans makes. He needs to make killer passes. Well, the big money buys you killer passes. Is a fair point, actually. If you look, so Evans is top in the division, miles clear as well for accurate passes. And people think we exaggerate about Bannon when we're covering League One. But all the data, look at that. Chances created, 45, 9 more than anybody else. And Sean McConville's sticking blooming corners into the box for Accrington. Expected assists, Bannon. Expected assists per 90, they're kind of the same thing. But sometimes I go into my it's League One mode. There's not many players who are slicing through balls. But Evans does look to have the capability. You'd imagine sometimes he's probably got it in his head that that's not the instruction, whereas Bannon's obviously got carte blanche to do what the hell he likes and play the Hollywood ball.
Yeah, I think all you've got to do is look at the respective heat maps. Bannon will pop up absolutely everywhere, all over the pitch to get on the ball and look to make things happen. I mean, we saw him in, the left back position at Hillsborough, picking up the ball and looking to ping passes across. Evans has got that really good kind of cross-field ball in his locker, hasn't he, where he looks to pick out either Davis or Burns on the flanks, and that's been a really, really useful weapon. But he is much more kind of conservative. It's clear that his game plan is kind of sit a little bit deeper, give Morsey the license to move forward, and I guess that means you're not going to see. I mean, I can't remember any kind of through balls from Evans to the strikers or the tens that resulted in chances. It's very much kind of that almost like a quarterback role where he'll sit there, ping balls out to the flanks, and look to kind of build momentum that way.
Yeah, I think you've already answered this. Do you think Panchute will start? No. Probably going to be a few weeks, isn't it?
Yeah, he's going to need some under-21 game. I think I saw somebody in the comments earlier, it might be an FPL Tractor, said that apparently he's penciled in to play in the under-21 game tomorrow. So he presumably won't be featuring on the bench against Derby, which makes sense. You'll have Ball back as your central midfield cover. He's going to need, isn't he, a couple of under-21 games, then a few appearances off the bench here and there, and I guess they'll pencil him in to start against Bracknell and whoever we get in the next round of the Pizza Cup, just to get some more minutes into him.
Good spot this. Hadmay was tough for something on that.
I saw that. What was it? Was it goals?
It was
XG per 90?
Goals plus expected assists per 90. Do you know what? I bet most of that is from the game against us. But you can see Muzzy Carrial as well. Burton are mad statistically because they're just all over the place. Under Hasselbank, they were either conceding 4 goals or bombing throw-ins into the other box and leaving themselves completely open. So take a few of those numbers with a pinch of salt. But if we do completely change our style and start lobbing grenades into the box, maybe we have a man to get on the end of that. Charlie, is the Plymouth manager moving on?
It'd be nice.
It would be nice, wouldn't it? I don't think he will. And I think this Mick Beale today turning down Wolves kind of emboldens the likes of Schumacher if he gets offered Hull or whatever to go, do you know what? No.
Well, we've seen it with Bonner, haven't we, as well? Bonner's turned down Rotherham, and I guess they do say, don't they? Pick your owners. There's a couple of basket case clubs in the Championship that if you're looking to build something,
parachute team, Seb.
Yeah, but if you're looking to build something at Plymouth, you've taken over from your mate Ryan Lowe. You've continued this season, picked up from where you left off last year, looking to build stuff on and off the pitch. I can understand why they are turning down those kind of moves, and I guess Rob Edwards is a bit of a warning to everybody. I know he went to Watford and they are a complete league of their own when it comes to managers, but I guess that might just be a bit of a concern for people, who leave kind of relatively stable jobs. You could be out on your ear after 10 games. That's the world of the Championship. I saw a stat in the week somewhere. I think it was on the Hard Truth podcast, actually. The Peterborough owner was saying the average life expectancy for a manager in the EFL was something like 11 months. Which is,
it's crazy. Every day I see a new tweet saying, I don't know, some dude who got hired in July is now the 4th longest serving manager in the Championship. Right, we're going to have a bit of fun with this, Seb. Michael, is there one player you'd like us to sign in January from the Championship that might be up for a move? What we're going to do is we're going to assume that Michael Carrick is going to be named the Middlesbrough manager tomorrow, and we're going to assume that he's still best mates with Kieran McKenna, and he would be very willing to loan us a player. So we'll go very directly into the Middlesbrough squad, and I will pick out.
Who's that striker? They had a young striker who they loaned to somebody in our league. I can't think who it is.
Oh, Josh Coburn. Yeah, he would have been good, wouldn't he?
I liked him. Yeah, I like him.
Yeah, we're full up there. Isaiah Jones. No, I jest, of course. Hayden Hackney scored the other night. I don't know. Would they loan us somewhere?
Matt Crooks is a physical number, as a physical midfield option. Looking to get forward and get on the end of things.
Yeah, assuming that if he was available, Paul Warne wouldn't be front of the queue for that one as well. So yes. Keep your questions coming in, and we'll go a little bit longer. Rodrigo Muniz, unfortunately, Mullet, he's already on loan from Fulham to Middlesbrough. But yes, I'm sure he'd score every half probably if he was playing in League One in our team. Duncan Watmore doing a great job for me on Football Manager. He's one of those ones, Duncan Watmore, where he seems to keep getting played on the basis of the ineptitude of the other players. They're still playing him, bless him, but nice, quick player. Any more questions? We'll do a little bit of pluggery. Get any more questions in? Telegram, Seb, is great fun, isn't it? We've got our Telegram, Seb. You get a free 2-week trial. It's like a big WhatsApp group with loads of us. There's loads of people in it. I think FPL's in there, isn't he? Who else on the list? Jim's in there. Jules in there? I think he was.
Yeah, Jules, yeah.
David's in there.
Yeah.
I'm scrolling up. Loads of the guys. Dan, we had on earlier. Loads of the guys are in there. So check out Telegram, and you can get a free trial. There is a paywall after the free trial, but it's really good fun. And we kind of sell it that it's a little bit better policed by us than Twitter is sometimes. We believe in people's freedom of speech, of course, Seb, but it doesn't get out of hand in our Telegram, does it?
No, it's great. You can have respectful, reasoned football debates. People quite
disagree.
We disagree with each other all the time. There's loads of stuff in there with different points of view and different opinions on things. But like I say, it remains respectful. You don't put something out there and immediately you're getting loads of abuse off a load of online trolls and stuff. It's a great kind of community that we've built. There's about 6 or 7 different groups. There's ones for golf and cricket and non-football things that I tend to stick clear of. But we're watching the Premier League last night, and there's a general football one. We're all having a chat in there about the Man United game. Match day is my favourite one. On the match day, Rich will open up the match day chat. He's got his policing methods. He will close it and open it at certain times. But he'll open up the match day chat, and then we get to see everyone's trip to Portman Road, team news, what we think is going to be, pre-match rituals. It's great seeing all the different stuff at the ground of people's opinions and different views from being in different stands. People down the south stand will see something completely different to people in the north stand, and it's great to get all these views in one place. And then the debate continues throughout the evening. Last Saturday night I was down for the Lincoln game. I went back to my mum's house in Suffolk, and the debate is still going on, and people are still talking about Lincoln and what went wrong and what we expect to happen. And it's just a great little community. Come and give it a try. Like Ben said, you get 2 weeks on us, free trial. Give it a go. You won't lose anything, and even after that, it's only a £5. It's not a lot of money.
You might lose a bit of dignity. There's some banter going on in there, isn't there?
yeah. No, it's great. Come and give it a try. You won't lose anything. Give it a go. It's really good.
Gary's off to Butlins. So which one, Gary? So Skegness, Bognor, Minehead. I can't. In my days, Seb, as a travelling musician, I've been to all of them many times. Just don't do them in consecutive nights. They are horrible places to get to. Telegram is absolutely brilliant. Thank you, David. Right, guys, let's just hit it on the head now. Give me your score predictions for tomorrow if you're in the chat. How do you see this one panning out tomorrow? There you go. Gary's brought you another 15 seconds. He's in Bognor on the south coast. Get your score predictions in for tomorrow. I don't know whether I'm in take a point mode after losing to Lincoln.
Well, it becomes important after that, doesn't it? It's now an important game. If we'd have battered Lincoln, then a point against Derby at home is absolutely fine. But it does become an important game now. I think we need to, we can't lose it, and I think it will be a draw. But if we could win it, get back on track, that would be superb. I guess, when we lost to Plymouth, we suddenly bounced back with 3 wins in a week, didn't we? We beat Pompey, Accrington, and somebody else I can't think of, Cambridge. So we have shown that we are resilient and we can bounce back. Was it Joe Raw used to call it bounce back ability?
Oh yes.
We've shown that we have that in our locker, and I think it'll be a draw personally, and then we'll look to build against hopefully get good results away to Port Vale and away to Charlton, because these 3-game weeks can be crucial, can't they?
Let's have a look at some of these predictions. Confident, as you can imagine, from a room full of Ipswich fans, but hopefully they're on the right track here. Couple of draws in there, plenty of wins. Actually, Nick's rumbled me there. I was literally just going to go. Context is king, we always say. Port Vale, Ipswich would be favourites, but obviously it's a tricky one with it being a Tuesday night and we're getting into winter now. Charlton away, that's going to have a big game feel, judging by the fact that the away end sold out within about 30 seconds. Then you got Bracknell, Cheltenham be favourites, but they've beaten Bolton. They beat someone else good recently. I can't remember who. Long trip down to Exeter, but Seb, I keep banging on, and since we've done the pod, I've banged on about look after yourself. If we draw this game, we'll still be 31 points from 15 games. If we win it at 32 from 15 is outstanding. If we lose it, we're still at 2 points per game. So as much as that may affect what's happening going forward in a negative way, back-to-back defeats, keep calm. You're at 2 points per game with some nice fixtures coming up. Is that fair?
Yeah, I think so. But the only thing that will concern me, obviously, is if you do sort of, drop points. Sheffield Wednesday are right in there behind us, aren't they? It's looking like it could be 3 kind of breaking away for those top 2 positions. So, like you say, look after ourselves, maintain the 2 points per game, which, like you say, you do retain even if you only get a point against them. But we would then have to follow it up. If we get a point tomorrow night, we'd then have to follow it up with a win at Port Vale and at least a point away to Derby. That's away to Charlton, sorry.
And that's the complete worst case scenario, isn't it? A breakaway group, because you can record a very high points total and finish 3rd or 4th then, can't you?
Yeah,
miles
exactly
ahead of 5th and 6th.
Yeah, exactly how it was in the 90s under Burley. You had Sunderland winning the league, or whether it was Aston City kind of going for it. And obviously we finished, and even in the 04-05 season where we lose to West Ham in the playoffs, there's a top 3 that kind of make that breakaway. And all you can do is kind of look after yourself, and hopefully teams will slip up here and there throughout the season. You can be in a position to capitalize on that. But I just always feel these 3-game weeks are absolutely crucial. We saw it a couple of weeks ago with the Pompey, Cambridge, Accrington 3-game week. If you can pick up 2 points per game from then and give yourself a real kind of shot in the arm, it builds so much momentum and confidence, and it can be absolutely crucial coming into the season.
Charlton look very good versus. It does look like this Charlton game is going to be quite bad timing on that. They look like they're getting going now, don't they?
Yeah, it look like they're hitting a bit of form, don't they? Annoyingly.
2 points per game, not good enough in a 3 or 4. I don't know if that's right, Dennis. I know the championship stats that the highest total to ever not get promoted is the one Seb just mentioned, is Sunderland in 1998 got 90. I'm pretty certain no one would have ever got 92 points and not been promoted. But I'm prepared to. I think Sheffield United actually got 9. Then Sheffield Wednesday pipped them. They got a massively high total and didn't go up. Someone will check that in the chat for me. But I do accept you've got to beat your rivals at some point, and we've not done that. But yeah, that 2 points per game, keep tracking that, and I'm pretty set. Look, if you did it, you'd be blooming unlucky not to get out there. Anyway, Derby will join the breakaway group. They've got a bit of. It needs to be a tear, but certainly
you wouldn't rule it out with Warne in charge. I think at the start of the season, I predicted they finished 6th. I thought they might gate crash the playoffs, given the the kind of caliber of players they brought in to complement some very decent younger players. So I still think they will finish in the playoffs, but I think they might have given themselves a bit too much to do to kind of, be up there with the likes of us. But we saw it last year. If you start slowly, it can be so difficult, can't it? You can win every week. And was it, we found in March, didn't we? Was it Chris or Tony was putting it in the Telegram group that we were winning each game, and our percentage chance of getting in the playoffs was diminishing each game. So, you can't win the league at this time of the year, but you can definitely lose it, as we found out last season.
Well, there were 3. Was it us, Bolton, and Oxford all missed the playoffs? All were banging out the points for the last 4 months of the season.
Yeah.
Jim got now getting out tomorrow, and there's a lot of pressure on 2 away. Yeah, it's probably a fair point, isn't it? But you got to rise up to that pressure, haven't you? Think we'll win the league by 5+ points anyway. I would like that. 5+ points. Does that mean we'd be up with 2 games? So if we had the 5-point lead with 2 games to get, no, we wouldn't. Still go down to the.
It would mean Fleetwood away would be a lovely day out in the last game.
Oh yeah. I'm sure you'll be there. Right. I think we're there then, Seb, coming up to the hour. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. Have a great time. I'm really hoping I'm going to be down there tomorrow for the first time in forever down at Portman Road. But if I'm not, we will have it all covered on the Flagship show, Seb.
Yeah, absolutely. Back on Sunday, we'll work out who's going to be on it. But I'd imagine most people, Mikey's there as well this weekend. So I think most people, I'm definitely not there. You're a maybe. But if not, the rest will be there. And they'll have it covered on Sunday Night Live at 8 o'clock.
David Diamond sees everything. He's got rubbish seat as well. He's right down low in the corner. He sees everything. So don't worry. We got it covered. Has Joe still got that light bulb thing in his way, hanging down from the stand? He won't see anything. He can only see about 50% of the pitch. But there you go. We've got Richard up in the other stand. Craig's up on high. We've got it all covered, haven't we? So thank you, everybody, for joining us. Thank you for all the questions. Thanks for the super chats. Should we just start calling him Super David? And a big thank you to you, Seb, and we'll see you very soon. He says, where's the outro? Bye, everyone.